I'll start this video today. Usually I have some little snippet. Okay, let me get my dress. Hello to you beautiful humans, and welcome back to the channel and part 3 of okay, let's get into it. It's been a long Hello to you beautiful humans, and welcome back to the channel and another episode of Most Money Mondays. Today is part 3 of retirement funds, and we are going to be tackling preservation funds. But before we get into that, I just wanted to address a little something kind of relating to what I posted about last week, reoccupational funds. It's a bit of a separate issue, but kind of related. Okay, it's severance pay. Okay, so what severance pay is if you get retrenched from your work, your employer may pay you some money, lump sum, to get you to go along. This is not leave benefit that is owed to you when you leave your employer, and kind of any bonuses that were owed to you or all of that. This is what your employer pays you for the amount of time that you have worked for them, and every employer will have a different way that they deal with this, but the basics are written in the Labor Act, so you can check that out. There's a basic. But your employer may or may not choose to pay you that. It is dependent on them, and they have to explain those reasons to you why they don't pay a severance package. But I'm not going to get too much into that. So how a severance package is taxed is that it will be taxed the same as retirement lump sum benefits will be taxed. So the first 500,000 will be tax free, and any money after that will be taxed according to the tax table, like I showed you last week. Right? Tax that you get taxed by SARS is very dependent on how your tax affairs are standing with SARS. So if you have any monies that are owed to SARS, or you haven't paid your tax, you've sold your assets and not paid tax on that, you haven't declared something with SARS, and SARS feels like they want to penalize you and all of that, what your employer will do before they pay you a severance package is they will submit a tax directive to SARS, and then SARS will look at your tax affairs. If they are not in order, they will take their money that you owe them from there before they pay you, and whatever is left after they take their money from your severance package, they will pay it over to you. This is the same as with if you take a bit of a lump sum from your occupational funds, or when you retire and you take a lump sum from your retirement fund and all of that. SARS will first look at how your tax affairs are with them, if you have any monies owed to them, and they will take that money before they pay you out. All right, but also bear in mind that this severance package, the tax that you pay is dependent on whether you've taken money before from your provident fund, pension fund, or retirement annuity when you retire, when you leave your employer, or if you've taken money from your preservation fund, which I will explain just now how taking money from preservation funds works. So all that is intertwined. So if you take money from one, it will count against all the others. If you take money from your provident fund, you will get taxed according to the lump sum withdrawal tables. But that will also count against you at retirement, because the balance of the 500,000 will disregard the money that you took before. Same with the severance package. If your severance package is like 600,000, you are automatically not going to qualify for the free 500,000 when you retire, because they've already counted it against your severance package. That was quite a mouthful. I hope I made some sense. Now we can move on to preservation funds. Okay, as I mentioned last week, preservation funds are funds that you use to preserve monies when you leave your employer or you leave work for whatever reason, and you choose to preserve your money instead of taking it in cash. You choose to preserve it. Now, you may choose to preserve your money with your employer. Some employers do give you that option to leave your money in their fund. You're called a preservation member. Or you can choose to preserve your money with any investment company. I'm not going to mention names, but you can find those out on the website, on the internet. There are companies who do offer investment-linked preservation funds, so you can work it out with your employer where you want to transfer it to. But please, before you transfer into an investment company or before you decide to preserve your money, please speak to a registered FSP, because you do need some sort of advice. Unless you work in financial services or you work in planning, you work with funds and all of that, it's a bit difficult to handle it yourself, because you need to have an understanding of what unit trusts are and your risk appetite to be able to kind of choose the right strategies for you and the right funds for you to invest in. So please, before you do anything, speak to an advisor and they will help you to preserve your funds. So say you choose now to go into a linked investment preservation fund with company X, right? From a provident fund, you can move to a provident preservation fund, a pension preservation fund, and a retirement annuity. All those transfers will be tax-free, but now the differences come in that moving to a provident preservation fund, you kind of get to keep the same rules as with your provident fund, in that at retirement at retirement you will still be allowed to take your full money in cash, right? When you move into a preservation fund at retirement, you cut that down to 1/3 only, and then the 2/3 has to buy you a guaranteed annuity or a living annuity, same as moving into a retirement annuity. The advantage with moving into a retirement annuity is that you can still contribute to a retirement annuity, but when you move into a preservation fund, any preservation fund, you cannot contribute to any of those. So let's repeat that. You cannot contribute to a preservation fund, and you can only move into a preservation fund if you have a previous occupational fund that is existing. Okay. All right. From a pension fund, you can move into two. So now you can move into a pension preservation fund and you can move into a retirement fund. As I explained earlier, the advantage with moving into a retirement annuity fund is that you can contribute to that. So now let's discuss what happens now that you're in a preservation fund and all of that. As I mentioned last week, before you move into a preservation fund or before you do whatever with your money, with your occupational fund, before you transfer it or before you take it, you are allowed a pre-transfer withdrawal, right? And I've explained the tax on that. When you are now in a preservation fund, be it a provident preservation fund or a pension preservation fund, you are allowed one once-off withdrawal from the preservation fund. You can take your money in full, be it a provident preservation fund or a pension preservation fund. When you move into once you are in the preservation fund, you can decide at some point, okay, I want to take all my money in cash, and you are allowed to take all that money in cash, and your preservation fund will be closed. But you will be taxed according to the withdrawal lump sum benefits, as in the first 25,000 tax free, dependent on whether you took money before you transferred, and dependent on whether your affairs with SARS are in order. So here's a bit of a calculation on how that goes. So if you've never taken the pre-transfer withdrawal and your tax affairs are good with SARS, this is how the calculation would go. Here's a huge disclaimer for all of that. If you move into a retirement annuity fund, you do not get access to your money. You do not get that access to the once-off withdrawal at all. At all. Rules of the retirement annuity fund is that you can only access it if it's less than 7,000. That's the only time you can withdraw from it. Otherwise, you can only access it after age 55. And that's retirement, or you can choose to take the 1/3. Yes, you can choose to take the 1/3 or the 500,000, dependent on a lot of things, which I'll explain next week when I discuss the retirement annuity. And you can only access it or take all your money at immigration. That's full financial immigration. That's the only time you can access your money if you put it into a retirement annuity. So the advantage on the one hand of preservation funds is that if you ever find yourself in a massive emergency, you can withdraw those funds dependent on tax. But if you move into a retirement annuity, you can contribute to that and keep helping it grow, but you cannot withdraw from it until you are 55, or if it's less than 7,000, or if you fully immigrate. I need to mention that I am not giving any advice in these videos. If you need advice, please contact a registered FSCA financial service provider. You can find them on the FSCA website. Just go on there and search for FSPs. If you know their names, you can search for them on there. Otherwise, you can do random searches and I don't know. But you can also call investment companies if you need advice and ask them to put you through to a financial advisor. Whatever financial advisor that they can give you, they should be on the FSCA website, and you can check that they are registered, and if they are under supervision, they will tell you that information. In the meantime, guys, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share this with your friends. If you think this does not apply to you, just share it and move forward, keep it moving. Somebody might get some help out of these videos. And until next week, it is Adios.